Potholes and Penguins
with Barry and Trimby.
Jesus Christ! Ow! It hurts.
Is your Munster sore?
It hurts in my blood, in my red blood, coursing through my veins.
I saw you on the telly though.
You're on TV.
Was I?
Just back when you won the Celtic League.
All right.
Must seem a long time ago.
Happier times.
Yes.
Now I feel like I'm dying. I feel like Munster is dying. Like
The Wicked Witch of West Clare melting.
like a shape-shifting monster in a film that's become loads of different monsters, and then as it's dying, it goes through all its different
Yeah,
like,
all the different Munster strips.
all the different types of Munster, different counties. So like, fucking indeed, yeah. Fox, yeah, I'm dying, you goal, and I'm dying, boy. And then like, I am dying, I'm from South Africa. And I'm fucking dying here, lads. I'm actually dying. I'm red blooded to my fucking core, okay? And I'm fucking dying here. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. But
That's really sad, Bear.
well, I deserve it because of my naivety, my absolute confidence. Where did this crazy confidence come from that we all had, thinking, yeah, it just seeped, of course we're going to win. We we're on paper, like, of course we're going to win. It started with someone must have gotten the ball rolling the last week or so and gone, geez, do you know what? I think on paper Munster might win it. And then we all went, yeah, I suppose. And then someone said it, and then the Munster team put out a little bit of a positive thing, and then all the pundits and the media and everything was like, Munster are unbelievable. This is based on what in particular? But we all were like, yes, we're going for it. I was on the radio last week, all over the radio, going, yeah. This is if now's our time. If we can win it now, then I don't know when. And I went on second captains with Shane Horgan the other day, and he was the same.
Really?
Yeah, two of us were sitting there.
But it was,
circle jerking with Munster, going, yeah.
Playing soggy biscuit with Munster.
we didn't see the Munster team that we've seen increasingly over the last 12 weeks. Since that final, they have got better and better and better. And
playing
then
against
we just
who?
saw.
Not since the last time we played them in January, we haven't gotten better.
But
and
playing
better
European
and better.
rugby as well, I don't think. And that Leinster did not play well. It's not
Yesterday.
like they're up against it. Yeah.
Still, I think our confidence going into that was, I don't know. I was on second captains, and I did an analogy of
You read your plan.
I basically said because it's been so obvious over the last while that we've just getting beaten the same thing over again. I said we need a plot twist. We need the ultimate script flip of all time, kind of like Quentin Tarantino when he for Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, wasn't it? And he took the story of the Manson family, and he took a true story, Munster getting beaten off Leinster, and then flipped it completely and just said, "Nah, I'm rewriting it." So I went in with that analogy that Leinster were the Manson family because they're so they're just there because they're Leinster. Charlie Manson is Jonathan Sexton.
Disclaimer.
And then they were going to arrive, and you know, when they're in the film, Brad Pitt is off his face on acid, and he's just so chilled out, and then it all turns completely differently as it's supposed to. I said that Leinster will arrive, and Carberry was Brad Pitt. The reason he's so relaxed and calm all the time on the ball is because he's off his face in psychedelics, and he picks up a tin of dog food and whacks it off one of their faces, and then sets his pit bull, who's Peter O'Mahony, at him, and he bites their faces off. And then Conor Murray DiCaprio comes out with a fucking blowtorch or a flamethrower, and scorches the rest of them, lights them on fire. And
did anybody order fried sauerkraut?
and that's Keith Earls is the flamethrower. But that's not what happened.
No.
Yeah. In truth, Carberry was Bruce Lee. Just got his head kicked in.
Yeah. The Manson family showed up and slaughtered everyone. Stabbed in the belly. A bloodbath all over the place. And yeah, we were just lying in the pitch, blood spilling, and then one of them right at the end just went up and took our own blood and wrote St. Gerard's School, RFC School, on the back wall of RDS.
Wazir.
Charles Wazir, yeah. 21.
Yeah. So
Charles Wazir, and it's like, how many times have Leinster won it in a row? Charles Wazir, 15, scored out. 16, scored out. 17, all the way up to 21.
And what's worse, we were duped into it because all the Leinster, there's no way those Leinster ex-players firmly believed Munster were going to win it, because they were all saying, Brian Driscoll was on, Shane Horgan was on, Bernard Jackman, any of them I listened to were all going, yeah, Munster, this is it. They just duped us, and we were like, really? Is this it? And they're like, yeah, this is your time. Sure, you have to win it at some point. I mean, this is, this has got to be your time. And we were like, really? But what is this based on? We've
romance and probability.
Yeah. And it was like to a further bloodbath. It was like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. That's exactly
Shaggy
what it
had.
was like.
If you looked in the recording on Second Captains, Shaggy had chainmail underneath his shirt.
Exactly. And they invited us over for a whatever. Was that a wedding they were invited? Obviously, it was
2000 episode wedding.
Yeah, they invited us in. Yeah, come over. Come up to the. Actually, do you know what? Come up to the RDS. Come up and we'll have it at like 5 o'clock on Saturday.
You can win. Could be grand.
Yeah. You'd be grand. You'd probably look at the team you have on paper, and sure. And we're like, what? Really? What? Will we have to? What's this based on? Do we have to do anything? Do we have to do it? No. Just do the same thing you've been doing for years. That exact same obvious thing that
I'll
you
buy the
always
beers.
do.
I'll get the food. I'll look after all that.
It'd be grand. You'd be fine. You'd be home by before start, because the clocks will go forward and everything. It'd be grand. It'd be lovely.
It's ideal.
And then fucking stabbed in the belly again. Disaster. So I don't know where to go from there. Like,
Are you in a diner, Barry?
am I in a downer?
Yeah, you're in a diner. Are you kicking yourself? Are you annoyed with yourself? Are you just sad?
Yeah.
I think Munster should be sad. I think they're past the frustration. I think they're just going,
That you're right.
sadness.
Yeah. So I read a Facebook post today by a Munster fan, and it said, "It saddens me to write this," and I was there. Oh
No.
someone's passed away. That's usually the opening line of someone's passed away, and then
Yes,
they wrote
all of Munster's hope. That's what's passed
they wrote
away.
this big monologue.
Because nothing's changing. The future of Munster rugby. Like, imagine all the legends of Munster past. You included, okay, but probably to a lesser extent. And they're all going like, we invested so much and you boys just let us down.
The ghost.
Too much? Too much?
Yeah. I think just stab it in the belly. Safer.
What was the vibe in the stadium afterwards? First of all, we were very excited being there and being.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, positive. Let's keep it good, man.
Love
Jeremy.
it. And I had a great time. I was practicing moving my hands, which I'm still kind of doing. I was practicing moving my hands to get me more excited for what I'm saying. So when I was talking, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's good crack. I've been doing that a little bit. Woo!
And it did.
Brilliant pass.
It made me enjoy it way more. I could look across at Don, and he was there. Are you all right? Like, he obviously wasn't.
Were you moving your hands and everything you said?
Yeah. And I thought it was the best game I'd ever been to for the first half. Was it a good? Remember I put up on our Facebook group.
Was it a good game? The first
That's
half?
what I said. I thought it was an unbelievable game. And I watched it back today, and I was like, okay, it wasn't as good as I thought it was.
I was.
You were just out of the house.
And I was moving my hands. If you're ever having a bad time, just start moving your hands.
The Venn diagram of being out of the house and moving your hands. That's your hotspot.
Yeah. So I had a grand day, and then it went all downhill for the second half. And the RDS.
Did you stop and get a burger on the way home?
No.
You're in a rush to get home. Fuck, Barry. Sounds terrible. Did you dawdle? Please tell me you dawdled and let Orla put the kids to bed.
Well, I did, of course, but I knew I had to be up this morning with them. So the sooner I got back, I knew that the babies don't understand. The clock is going forward and we're losing an hour. The bastards. So they were up at 5 o'clock. And I didn't get to bed. I didn't get home till 10:30. So to punish them, I made them watch the match at 6 o'clock this morning. There was no Iggle Piggle or Pinky Ponks or Upsy Daisies this morning. It was...
just watching Peter O'Mahony's interview at the end.
Oh, shit.
Gather around, twins.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's Peter O'Mahony.
Back again.
Jesus. He's not the happiest, the most, at the best of times. I don't know where's his floor of unhappiness.
It'd be funny if it had the opposite effect on him, because he's usually quite sad. Everybody else gets sad and he gets happy.
That was great, Craig. It's great to be in the RDS.
Isn't it great to be out of the house? Are you moving your hands, fellas?
Mention the interview after. Where do you go from here? I don't know. Just move your hands.
Yeah. But it was actually a really good atmosphere. There was loads of people there. There was loads of pundits there, because there was loads of TV stations, there was loads of radio stations, loads of journalists. So there was quite a few people. There was a bit of a buzz. There was loads of Yardy.
Oh, really?
Security and just general folk.
Yeah.
Hanging around. So there was quite a bit of a buzz.
Rake of fireworks. Tunes. Loads of tunes.
Great tunes. Yeah. Well, music.
Just music. Yeah.
So
vibes.
there was a good buzz, but then of course when kickoff starts, it's just dead silence,
Back to sorrow.
Anyway, look, we'll
and
get
you
into
hear Bundy a key. You can hear Bundy from Galway. It's Bundy. Shut up, Bundy. Someone call Bundy and tell him to shut up. We're trying to watch the game here. He's just running around the sports ground by himself.
Charge! Get here, will you? I'm going to crack into my tin of Boundary Brewery here.
Yeah. What is it? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking so many beer names.
I'm on forever ago.
And I'm going to enjoy this.
I'm on Not a Punk, and I'm telling everyone. Where are we? boundarybrewing.coop/shop. Use the discount code Will Addison. Get yourself a nice wee discount. UK customers only, sorry. Terms and conditions apply. Terms and conditions don't apply.
It's fucking delicious. Go on, give me yours a little bit. Let's get it out of the way, okay?
It's very much on theme what we've discussed already.
Okay.
It's Trimbys, silly little bit.
Jack, my 5-year-old son, learned an important life lesson this week. One that will stand to him certainly until he's about 15, but potentially beyond that. A classmate of his, Daniel, his real name, told him that he had successfully cloned himself. He asked Jack to keep it a secret. Jack only shared this story with us a week later, once Daniel had revealed he was actually lying to him, and thus the secret verbal contract was now void. You'll meet spoofers your whole life, I said. Whether it be Stuart Hogg insisting every year that Scotland are in it to win it, or me on RTE Politics show referring to Varadkar and Mary Lou MacDonald as them two.
Those two.
Those two. You've got to look for signs, son. Probe a little to validate or disprove the claim of a spoofer. Jack, I explained. I can't clone myself. You can't clone yourself. So what makes you think that Daniel could clone himself? The look on Jack's face as he recounted Daniel's explanation was pure embarrassment. And it was the same look on all Munster fans' faces after 60 minutes on Saturday. How could we have been so foolish? How could we have expected anything so spectacular and unusual? Of course, Munster don't have a cloning machine. Well, Munster, unless you're cloning the Leinster players you're playing against and hoping for a draw, I don't see much point in that strategy anyway. Truth be told, the only thing Munster cloned was their performance in last year's final.
You're a clone baby. not a clone baby.
You know the way we've discussed there recently about how the biggest thing you miss over the last year or, lockdown period, the biggest thing you miss is just the crack with the boys or the girls. But the crack. It was the closest thing to that on Friday night when Jack was telling me this story about this fella. I swear, because Anna was working late. She started a new job, and she was working late. And me and Jack were just having the crack. Ordered pizzas. We were having the crack, and I said, Jack, what made you think that this fella could clone himself? And I swear, he was so embarrassed and he was pissing himself, and I was trying to.
So he was laughing at himself.
Yeah, and we started role playing it. I was like, Jack, right, all these spoofers in life, and do you know what I mean about, like, especially when you're a kid? Do you know those kids that just tell lies?
Yeah, just to seem cooler, like.
Yeah. And I think to be fair, I've done that once or twice as well. We've all told lies.
We've all done it, yeah.
We've all been there, right? But we were role playing, if someone says something stupid, and then I was trying to come up with all these scenarios of things that were unbelievable. And then I was like teaching Jack to go, spoofer. And then Anna kind of
should I say you give him some truths and give him some lies and see which ones he can.
No, that's the thing. See, that's what I should have done, but I just went all spoofer. I was like everything. You should, like, again. I know you always.
It's not a bad lesson.
I know, but you always say to me that I'm very kind of cynical or like kind of roll my eyes at a lot of things, and I'm worried I'm pushing that on to Jack. So like, what if some kid pours his heart out to Jack? Spoofer.
My hamster's just died.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to balance that up again.
Everyone's a spoofer unless they're proven otherwise. I think Barry O'Mahony. That's his go-to in life. Everyone's a spoofer unless they prove you otherwise, which is interesting, isn't it? It's not the way. I probably on the opposite of that. I'm too naive.
I think it's not a bad. I think you're better being that way than everybody's right until they're proven to be a spoofer. I think you're better starting off a spoof. Yeah. But I think there's probably a middle ground, a healthier middle ground.
Was the young fella is he a gas fucker or is he a spoofer? Like, because there's a fine line between that as well. If your man's going, imagine I can get this fella to think that
I'm a clone
myself.
Yeah.
If he takes something off Jack and doesn't get Jack's going, here man, can I get my pencil back? And he's like, what are you talking about? It's like, I gave him my pencil yesterday. Like, oh man, that was my clone. I cloned myself there. And he's actually taking your pencil. Yeah. That guy's a genius, like, you know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know much about it. He actually didn't tell me. This is the first story he's ever told us about this guy. And actually, he told us a couple of weeks ago, he's like, I have a secret and I can't tell you. I promised my friend Daniel that I can't tell you a secret. So there's this, like, a 2-week build up.
Oh, wow. Was this the secret? This is the secret, the clone
This was
thing.
the secret then, yeah. And we kind of forgot about it. And we were sort of going, fair play to you. You know, you said you wouldn't tell.
So Daniel asked him to keep it a secret. He didn't want him to.
And then Jack goes, he said he had a cloning machine.
I totally know what you mean about the going to the pubs and when having the laugh and like just that exact little buzz where there's nothing else going on. You're 1 or 2 pints in and it's just laughing at something.
Yeah,
that's that you don't have to think about lockdown.
No,
that's not even on your wavelength. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and either is work or either is anything else.
You've got that warm blanket of fearlessness.
Yeah. You've got 3 or 4, you've got a night out. You don't know what's going to happen.
You've surrendered yourself.
Not but to talk about. But my young fella whose friend told him he cloned himself, you know, or something similar.
exactly.
You know, that's all.
I know.
So that sort of stuff then will come to the fore way more.
Yeah, and we've been starved of it, and we deserve it.
And the other night, last night after the match, I saw someone post this on, I think, our Facebook, where that was the kind of match where you just want to go across the road, and have a pint with your mates and like all the fans, and just forget about it and just have a few beers and it's grand. You chat about the game, but
And be happy that Munster's full of gas bastards.
yes,
And you don't live in Leinster.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah. That you can do that and enjoy it, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to do that
now
in
you
Donnybrook.
can't. No, you can't. So you're starved. And then I was thinking you'd be going to mass today, like, and
Yeah.
cleanse. That's why there's so much sadness there now that in Munster, obviously, it's Leinster, obviously differently, but we needed a mass this morning where you cleanse yourself of a Munster mass.
Yeah. Well, Easter's coming up.
That's, I think, what put in my head. It's a very holy week.
Yeah. They're very
But
sad because
Munster are much sadder than Leinster are happy. I think Leinster are kind of like, oh, well,
there's another one.
that was good. No, it was good. I'm like delighted. That's the way they would have reacted.
Absolute fact. Just
But
makes it even more depressing.
Yeah. No, it was good. No, I'm pleased. Are you pleased? Yeah, I'm pretty pleased. Yeah.
Fuck it. We better get into the ins and outs. Is there few ins and outs of it? Sure there is. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with that. Bottles and Penguins is an independent production. And what I mean by that is,
It may sound like we don't know what we're talking about. You might even think Barry's hardly even played professional rugby and Dermy likes hurling. We want you to think that. It takes a lot of preparation to sound this unprepared.
we work very, very hard at what we do. And we want to make this show the best podcast in the world. For just $5 a month, you can help us do that.
Go to patreon.com/potholes and penguins and you can help me make these two fools look and sound even better than I already am making them look.
Okay, Munster versus Leinster. 16-6 Trimby. Give me a neutral perspective. I mean, the scoreline flatters the bollocks out of Munster because that was a hiding, no matter what way we look at it. But is there a massive gulf between that Leinster team and that Munster team?
There's a massive gulf between that Leinster performance and that Munster performance, but I don't think there's a big gulf in the teams for me. It was a 16-6 hiding, yeah. It was a 6-all hiding in the first half, but I actually thought there was a good chance that Munster would absorb for long periods of time and then get a couple of moments, get the turnover or get that penalty off Jean Klein's big hit, a few moments, and kind of claw their way back in the game, hang on in the game as long as possible, and then they would, like, Leinster would be frustrated at half time, go, we've been all over them and it's 6-all, and that would kind of break them a little bit, or it would be frustrating, and then Leinster would start to force it. That's the way I thought the game may go, but it just, like, Munster just looked so weak. It just, like, petered out, and they could have had an opportunity to kick on and take advantage of that, but it just never came. And actually, you're sort of going, the game just was over, and Munster never got a shot away, and it was it just felt quite weak.
Do you feel that's a psychological thing then?
Maybe,
or what? Or is it the style?
It's bound to be a psychological thing now. What makes me think it's not a psychological thing is, and you touched on this, that Leinster are the best team that they've played in a while, but I don't think that was the best performance that they've encountered in a while. So that kind of counters that, and it's no coincidence that the most recent time that Munster have played that badly was last time they played Leinster in the final. You know, the big game. I don't think Munster played that badly in that game around January either. Does that all make sense? Is that all? Would you agree with all that?
I would. What do you make of Munster's game plan yesterday? You know, is it what? Yeah, just what did you think of how they approached the game?
Well, it was, to be fair, it looked a bit wet and windy, was it?
Yeah, it was dry as a bone.
Was it windy?
It was slightly windy. Up high. No wind on the floor. So no real threat of if you were to play a kicking game, the wind would not have turned you off that.
They didn't get enough ball. It felt like they didn't get enough ball to feel confident to play this type of rugby that they've been playing more and more over the last 6 weeks anyway. 8 weeks since Christmas, really, actually, I would say. And maybe just because Leinster had so much possession in the first half, then they weren't, I don't know, familiar enough with the ball to feel like they could take Leinster through phases. I don't know. But then they just panicked. It looked like they were just shocked, or they were in awe of Leinster, and I don't know what it was.
Well, when Leinster did they just get their game plan absolutely spot on then? I mean, they when you say Munster haven't played that poorly. Leinster didn't play well against them in January at all. So Munster probably got away with being closer in that game than they probably should have been, because they didn't play particularly brilliant either. But then Leinster I thought Leinster were really good yesterday. They had made mistakes with the finishing in the corners and stuff like that, but their game plan was so good going into that game. That's where I was most frustrated, that we didn't approach that game like I know I'm taking the piss by saying it was so obvious, and with my analogies and stuff, and we didn't seem to change anything, and it was the same old story again. But there didn't seem to be, you heard Van Gran during the week saying he was asked if he got something up his sleeve, and he was like, no, we just stick to our game plan, stick to what we do, and that's what we do. But that, I just feel that you can't do that. You're never going to beat a humming Leinster team with such a blunt attack. And then when a Leinster team who are playing in a final, who are going to, you feel maybe they'll up the ante, and my God, did they? They just completely called our bluff and blitzed us in terms of game plan, at every point of the game. They beat us in the scrum. They were more aggressive at the breakdown. They off backline on backline. They tore Munster to shreds. You know what I mean? They made so many
just
yards.
Really basic. Hold on to the ball, get to the edge, take easy yards. Just continue to do that. Just continue to take whatever was available, and then just hold on to the ball. That was the thing. Munster just could not get the ball back off them.
But if you're the Munster backline or defence, right, and you're looking at that, how do you stop that, right? Because it was kind of obvious to me, or when you're in the middle of the heat of the moment, is it harder to do that? But Henshaw was the threat. If, let's say, off a set piece, scrum or line out, it was Henshaw the threat. They looked like they were going to be attacking Joey Carberry because he might be a weak link. So you've Damon Delande who's staying quite close to Carberry. They were putting Peter Manny up in the lineouts, so they were having no tail gunner off the back of the lineout, which, as you know, is so important for a backline to have that 7 off the back. You watch Josh van der Fleer on the other side, flip side, he's herring off the back of every set piece and making it a 5-man wall up for Leinster. So you have Damon Delande and Joey Carberry standing side by side, and then you've got Chris Farrell, who's no option but to stay kind of half up and stay quite tight every single time. And there's no one either. That should be predicted from the start of the game, surely. And they're still doing it 60 minutes in. Found that crazy.
Yeah, but Leinster went from their half quite a lot of times and just take it to the edge, and there's not an awful lot that Munster can do off that first phase. But whenever it gets into phase play, I think that Leinster just take those yards on the edge because they're available. If Munster shoot, then they're Leinster are sharp enough to just make those tip-ons and make those reads and just kind of catch those defenders out. But whenever they get into phase play, then
first phase, you think
I just think it's so easy. It's so easy to attack from your own half. And Munster, it's risky for Munster to make a read or to get Farrell up in the passing channel and then just hang. I would
say you don't need to do that. I would say everyone shuffles across and realizes that they're going wide here, and we need to keep our width. We need to keep our line intact, and not let Dealende have to get sit down by 12. You know, Dealende.
Yeah, but he did, like, because Carberry missed a few tackles. And if Dealende leaves him be, then Henshaw, in the form he is, he's going to go straight over the top of Carberry, having already missed a couple of tackles. Then Dealende just has to tighten up a little bit. That tightens everybody up, and then you just have to kind of take your beating and concede a lot of ground on the outside. But Leinster just never make mistakes. Now, to be fair, the one, like, I was probably a bit too critical. Leinster were really good for long periods, but the bit that they were different was they were nowhere near as clinical. They should have had Munster out of sight after 40 minutes.
Yeah, 100%.
But then those couple of passes went to ground, and
yeah, I think
that's why I thought, who knows, maybe that might give Munster energy and think, right, we've got a bit of luck here. We've hung in here. We've shown a bit of grit and determination, but then they had nothing to back it up.
Yeah, and I know it is hard when Leinster are clinical. They're holding on to the ball. They're not giving away. They're not kicking the ball to touch. So Munster have very few set pieces to launch from. But it just shows that if you're Leinster going into that game, you go, okay, we'll take out set piece out of the equation for Munster. We don't kick the ball to touch. We don't kick the ball away, and they've got nothing to launch from. If we kick the ball along to them, they don't really create anything from broken play. So they've gotten a massive one-up on them tactically already. And then that's I think it was 15 minutes before Munster had a launch play. And to be fair to them, like, when I say what should they have done for the day, you look at that team and you're going, okay, what do? You get your 12 and 13 who are 6'4" and 6'3" and 17 and 16 stone. You get them to just go route one up the middle, and you got to run around the corner, try to get to an edge, and come back with a fully loaded backline. We tried to do that once, and they don't ever go to the edge. They only ever go as far as the 10 metre line, 15, sorry, and then try and come back again to a fully loaded Leinster defence, and then more often than not someone was making a mistake.
It looked like, even if we take it away from that kind of team shape and that phase play, it just looked like Leinster. Actually, Simon Hick mentioned this in a tweet. The second captain's Simon. Luke McGrath looked like he had a point to prove. Rhys Ruddock was incredible. Kelleher, they were all brilliant. Jack Conan was good as well. Now, I said those three first because they were the three probably with a point to prove that Six Nations didn't go exactly their way. Rhys got that game. Obviously, Kelleher played as well, but none of them probably felt like they give a good enough account of themselves as what they've done in blue jerseys the rest of the season. And they were fired up and they performed where Munster's big names didn't. I thought actually both teams looked a little tired, but Munster looked very tired. I thought that England performance took a lot out of them, and they were tired going into it. Or maybe the Six Nations in general just took more out of the Munster players. They looked tired, and they looked like they didn't have any ideas, and they were kind of shocked by the intensity of Leinster. Despite obviously being way more Leinster players involved in the Six Nations in that England game, it looked like Munster just looked like they needed to experience what we were describing earlier on. They needed to get together with their mates, go to the pub, have a bit of crack, and just forget about the Pro 14, because it's gone, and it's gone for years. You will never win that. They need to sit down. They need to order a pizza and sit down with their 5-year-old and talk to their 5-year-old and find out all the stories and all the lies that all the lying kids, all the spoofers in that kid's class are telling them. That's what they need.
Yeah, you could be right. There's definitely the Billy Holland and CJ Stander and that kind of factor I think the reason that everyone was saying that they were going to win the game was this is the why we'll win it, because these players are leaving, which isn't enough. And when you say like there was more Leinster players involved, there wasn't if you include the bench, but with the starting 15s, that like fuck it, was strong Leinster team, you know. But a lot of them had played a lot of rugby of late. I know if Van der Fleer and Conan and Healy played a lot of last week's game, Keenan Henshaw, but they played with Leinster. Let's say the likes of Conan, Van der Fleer played with Leinster the weeks before. The halfbacks so used to playing with each other. You look at Munster, Murray and Carberry in particular haven't played together for a year and a half. So I how did you think Joey Carberry played?
I don't think it's necessarily a reflection on him. He missed a couple of tackles, but like you would, the form that Henshaw's in. But he was it a lot to ask?
Was it a lot to ask to put him in there?
No, I don't think so.
In hindsight,
has he played 3 games?
He started only one, I think. Did he? Yeah, I think he might have only.
We had this conversation at the start of Six Nations. Tadhg Furlong coming straight in after a long absence. Again, probably not as long as Carberry, but still pretty long. And if you're that good, like my position on that was, just take your time with him. Like he's going to be really important to Ireland going forward. Let's take your time with him. But I was proved completely wrong. And it was you that said, start him, get him back in, get him in the mix. And you were so right, because if you've got that much quality, you get those good players in. And if they're genuinely that good, they will be that good and you can rely on them. And Carberry, no doubt he is that good, but he wasn't at the weekend. And it's not, I'm not saying it's his fault. It's definitely not just his fault. But he was quiet. Of course, you're going to be quiet though if your team hasn't got any ball to play with. All you're doing is defending all day. And then, of course, if you're making loads of tackles, you're going to miss tackles. So I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying he was really quiet.
No,
that's a reflection of Munster were so quiet. They didn't get any ball. They didn't get any dominance. They didn't get a foothold once. It didn't look like they threatened Leinster once. And just when Carberry is the guy in the middle of your attack, then he looks bad. But he doesn't even look bad. He just looks absent, but I think that's just because Munster's attack was absent.
Okay, so go back to your point on the giving Munster a pizza and getting them to have a bit of a laugh and a smile on their face.
Yeah,
that means leadership. That means guidance, coaching, putting your team in the right mindset, and we have failed over and over again. And
not to draw, like we've talked about this a little bit, but that Johnny Wilkinson, what he said, finding some way to tap into, like they had those the weapons in their armory, Billy Holland and CJ Stander. They had, they should have tapped into something there that Ireland were able to tap in for CJ, for CJ and get a no doubt that contributed to it. But CJ's,
I think that's where the questions have been raised, and that's where the questions of me have been raised. It's like, has Van Graan got that ability to get inside these guys and get the best out of them? Because it doesn't appear that they're, like, the word is the quote being said is that they're not firing a shot. It's okay, and I've said this to you so many times, when Ulster go out and they lose in these finals or semi-finals to Leinster, they can be so proud of themselves for how they play, because they make it a close game, but it's the way they play. It's so exciting. They give it everything, you feel. And for me, it's not the Munster players. I know how good these players are, but they're not being given either a game plan, or they're not being brought into that game with the right headspace to express themselves and to show how good they are.
But they have. The most disappointing. I think their performance at the weekend was very similar to the performance in the final before, but I don't think it's that similar to what they've been doing. I think they've been playing really good rugby.
That's easy against
shit teams.
Against Scarlets, against Cardiff. Like, we come on here a few weeks ago with Scarlets, like, that is the worst team I've one of the worst professional teams I've ever seen. They were so bad, and sorry, no, but that's a lot of disrespect to the Scarlets players. But
No Scarlet
they
players
must have been embarrassed.
listen to
Listen to
potholes.
this, yeah. But I've just been honest, it was so bad, and I'm sure they'd say it themselves. So it's very difficult to compare against that. But it's for me, not being able to throw a punch in a final is unheard of, and that's too many now at this point. I think he's lost 9 out of 10 against Leinster without playing well in any of them. You look at the flip side against someone like Ulster, who have played Leinster a numerous amount of times, and I bet you if you went through all of them, you'd say majority of the games they played as well as they could. That's the frustrating thing.
Yeah, okay. It's the same result though, and Leinster head and shoulders better than anyone. That comparing yourselves to Leinster is pointless almost.
Yeah, no, it is. And when you look at the teams, it was an incredible Leinster. Everyone's saying Munster on paper are better. When you actually look at that Leinster team, unbelievable Leinster team, and then the bench as well to come on, and missing 6 players as well from, let's say, the starting 15. So it is there. Was leaps and bounds ahead of us. So anyway, I depressed you enough now, lads. Have I brought you down to my level?
Yeah, a wee bit.
Okay, we're going to pick you back up for part 3. We've got a new segment come up in part 3. Stay tuned.
Do we?
Mm-hmm. Okay, now for a brand new feature. As we said on the show a few weeks ago, the Energy All-Ireland League and the RFU are in the process of making a documentary on the 30 years of the AIL, and where we'll take a trip down memory lane and see some of the most iconic games and moments and characters from the All-Ireland League and how valuable it is to Irish rugby. And one aspect of it is they have asked clubs to nominate heroes of the league. So basically, clubs to put forward people who have made a massive impact on the club and the community and rugby as a whole in Ireland. We've had some wonderful nominations so far. But tonight, I am proud to say we have our first hero of the AIL, and that is a woman who needs no introduction. UL Bohemians, Niamh Briggs. How are you, Niamh?
Oh, grand. How are you?
Is it hero or heroine? Which do you prefer?
Neither.
Neither. I know how this is going to sit so awkwardly on your shoulders.
I know, because at the start, whenever you were talking with your hands, getting all into it, Niamh was like ready to slag. And then because you became so complimentary, you started getting all humble and all, Niamh. I'm so delighted. You changed.
Okay, I'm going to try and make you cry or at least blush. That's my aim. So, we're aware of all you've achieved internationally and for Munster, and as a pundit now, you're fucking lighting the world on fire. I'm stealing all my bits off you. It's great that you go out and off the ball like an hour before us, because I can just listen to you steal all my bits. But look, you're here tonight because you're the heart and soul of a club, basically, and all your friends and teammates have given us some words on that. So your former teammate and current UL Bows women's manager Sarah Hartigan has said this, and then I'm going to pass it over to you. As a club that is hugely proud of our women's team, we have been spoilt with inspirational and talented players. Without a doubt, Niamh Briggs is top of the charts. Swapping playing for coaching, she continues to command and control the backline. UL Bows have been unbeaten since Fiona Hayes and Niamh Briggs took the reins. She's an inspiration to younger players that have grown up watching her play, and now with all her knowledge and experience being passed to up-and-coming UL Bows women, you couldn't put a price on it. Playing with Briggsy, once you got over her giving out, you're playing with someone that had your back. She picked you up and pushed you on every step. She gives everything she has and expects the same from every teammate, playing or coaching. She's a great girl.
Go on, Niamh. You're class.
So, as I said, you've achieved loads, right? But how important is UL Bows and all your teammates? How important are they to you? How does that make you feel?
Oh, no, mortified. You promised me you wouldn't embarrass me if I came on this, because I didn't really want to come on. But yeah, look, I'm very humbled to hear like Sarah's probably the heart and beating soul. You know, from
I do,
being
of
well
course.
knows
Absolutely.
how important she is. And not just that, there's so many people in that club that drive it, I think. So you're just a small cog in a big wheel to try and keep as many teams as successful as possible, not just the girls' team, but also the men's 20s and right away down to Packy and the underage, I think. So I'm a little bit embarrassed and very humbled, to be fair.
Good. That's what we want. What do you love about the club?
I love the fact that they push standards for the women's squad long before anybody else did. I think they, credible coaches, notwithstanding yourself, and just the spirit in the club. I think they always took the women's squad really serious. They never really, tolerated us. They accepted us and pushed us to another bound. I think when, from the very start, when Cosy was involved, he was coaching right way through now to myself and Hayes and the likes of John Keane and Murty in the background, these lads. It's just a brilliant, brilliant club. I suppose you can all say it about your own home clubs, heartfelt and real love for it. But I genuinely love going down there every night for training, and I love hanging around. I'd love if there was a bar in Naivety so we could have the crack, but unfortunately I think it might be in the plans, but it's not there just yet. But I love the fact that the standard that they set as a women's club as a whole, it's on par with the men's AIL, and I think that's always been really important to us.
This has been a theme actually through this episode. Over the last hour and a half, we've just been talking about how much have
I not been on for the whole episode?
We've just been talking about how much we've missed the crack, and just what you're talking about there, it sounds like you're missing it too. You just want to get down to Anacotty and just get the girls round and just talk absolute rubbish. How connected do the girls still feel? How connected do you still feel to the club, and how much do you miss the crack?
Yeah, look, it's brilliant. I think, and I love the fact that with Bows, you could have girls that are playing rugby for Ireland, and then you'd have girls that have never played rugby before, and it's every level in between, and it's just all accepted. And the bus trips are the best. I know Anna's been on your show before, and she'll make a testament to that. And I think it's great, and I miss it so much. At the first lockdown, I think it was kind of, okay, it's not going to be that long, and then obviously it continued on, and you're trying to do things over Zoom and give them challenges to try and put in every week. And
what challenges? To them, what challenges, Niamh?
Well, the first lockdown we was all kind of fitness based, but the last this last few weeks, Fiona Hayes has come up with some rather unusual ones, like your best using objects within the house, portray your best rugby skill. So like, for example, Sarah Quinn had her mum hold a cushion and tackled her, like literally upended her into the couch. And then the following one was your best kind of kick and run up type of thing. And so, yeah, they've all put into it, and it's been great crack, to be fair. But it's difficult when you can't, interact with people physically and have a bit of crack on the pitch and off it. And so the sooner we get back, I think the better.
Look, I think when you say that about the Bows team, that's the most interesting part, is that there are internationals and provincial players and club players, and then girls who start for the first time. You've had you're so close as pals as well, which I've always been kind of so jealous of. And Kate Sheehan was on to me, and did you come up in the same? Would you have been all the way up together?
Yeah.
What a gas woman. She was saying was it against England in 2013 where she might have been injured, and she came onto the field to celebrate with you at the end of the game, and she couldn't find you anyway, and they were all just kind of walking off the field, and you came up behind her from out of nowhere and absolutely fucking smashed her from behind.
Yeah, I did, and she
love
just
it.
got up and she's like, my jeans. I did. Yeah, I could see her walking underneath the posts in Ashburn, and I was like, this is just too good an opportunity.
I love that's where your head was after beating England, like for the first time ever.
Was I was to celebrate with my pals, I think that was the most important thing. And look, for Kate Sheehan is, you've been on our 7 trips, and she's possibly the funniest person I've ever met. So it was nice to kind of catch her out for once, because usually I'm on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, 100%. We also had Niamh Kavanagh onto us. So it's interesting when you say that, because Niamh got onto us saying how vital you were to her when she was first started playing on the wing, 2013, 2014.
Giving out again.
And she said, first of all, how giving you are of your time and your expertise, and that's what's so interesting about you come back from international rugby and having the patience to help young players grow. And I think that's why so many people have come forward and said how important you were to them in their careers. Like was that something that was instilled in the team all the way through when you came in, that it was like, we're all here together, we have to help each other and grow or learn how to play? And I think you were back 3 together, wasn't it? So it's obviously vitally important that you played together, but was that instilled in the whole team?
Yeah, 100%. I think, I started playing rugby with Clonmel when we were, a small kind of AIL2 team before we had a really good year and put a couple of really good performances together and came up to AIL. So I spent 2 years with Clonmel before I moved to UL Bows, and it was different going back to Clonmel because, the difference in the standard in terms of like some of my best friends will always remain from Clonmel Rugby Club, because we always came together and there was that closeness, and that crack was always, like Bows. So, you always kind of find those friends that you stay forever. But I found that when I went to up to UL Bows, it was just a different level. I think, I've often told the story that in my first train session, I was just delighted to be running around there with the likes of, Fee Coughlin, Lynn Cantwell, Joy Neville and these girls. And, I'm just like, this is great. And then just you might hit a bag in a ruck and drill, and then Fee's literally I don't know if I can curse, but giving out to you because, what's that? And you're like, what? I just hit the bag. And she's like, that's not how we hit it here. We train the way we want to play. And, Fee's all like D4 and pretend she's from D4, she's from Clontarf. And so that was a big mind switch for me, because it was basically the standards that they held each other to, not the coaches. It was the player thing. So I think I was always very mindful that as I started to learn more and play more with Ireland, that there was players playing with Bows that I felt should have been playing with Ireland, and that if you could just give them a hand and help them and show them the standard that I was learning with Ireland and bring that back into club, then, more than would be able to come and play with Ireland. That was kind of the thought process behind it, probably.
Such a way to deliver that, though, isn't there? You don't want to be the one that's going to go on, I know it all, or do you, some people get frustrated with that, in my experience, having to do that.
Yeah, I have got frustrated, and I'm sure Cav
Cav did say, that when you still scream the word Cav or the name Cav, it doesn't really send shivers up her spine, because she understands, you've got that understanding, but it's that simple. That's all you need to say, and she knows that she needs to, I don't know, put her socks up or...
I think I learned very quickly which players that you can push buttons with and how you can push them. Some people just need an arm around the shoulder and just be like, look, you're doing brilliant, keep it going. Whereas other people need the shout of Cav. Yeah. Because when I was playing, there were days that I didn't mind, I needed someone to shout at me, but there were days when you needed just an arm around the shoulder. So I think if you can learn that about your players and your teammates, you can drive the best out of them. And look, I was a very grumpy player when I played, because I've no issue saying that now that I'm finished. But I liked things to be perfect, and I wanted us to be perfect as a team. And if I felt that my performance or others around me weren't hitting that mark, I had no issue in telling people, probably rightly or wrongly, when I was younger. But yeah, now that I'm coaching, I think I've learned to probably expect or have the expectation or the standards that I want, not lower them, but be more mindful of how certain players need to reach it, if that makes any sense. So
was there a gap between playing and coaching, and then was there a pent up grumpiness? And then no, if there wasn't, when you're coaching now, is there an excess of grumpiness?
No, I actually got more mellow as my career in playing kind of, when I got older. I think when I started, I was very, I was just way too competitive with everything, and myself included. And I just didn't like mistakes, and I just tried to drive standards the best way I knew how. But now there was no gap when I was from coaching to playing, because I got injured playing for Munster against Ulster, and Fiona asked me to come in and help out while I was injured, because I thought I'd get back playing that season, but it just didn't happen. So there wasn't really a gap. But I did find that when I started coaching, girls were kind of expecting the roar or the cav or the grumpiness, whereas I think coaching's it's a fine art, I think, and we all know what rugby is because we've played it and we watch it all the time, but to be able to coach it and get players to understand it is a whole different thing. So I think once I was able to separate coaching and rugby, and I became less grumpy and more understanding of players making mistakes, and understanding that they were trying to do what I was doing, just they didn't have the capability at that moment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Actually, Liz Burke was on to us from New Zealand, and she said that this is a good thing. In 2019, they'd lost to, I think, Belleville the year before, was it? Hadn't made the final in a couple of years or so. You were on fire that year when you won the AAL. You were the top scorer, and I think you were playing, was it Railway in November or something like that? And she said basically you came back and you were playing with a smile on your face, and she said you were so happy and enjoying your rugby and loved it, and that was I think what it kind of fueled the team, that enjoyment of rugby, and that created a really positive environment. And she also said you need to give us a version of Oh Holy Night before you go as well.
Absolutely not. Yeah, look, I obviously went through a really difficult time with Ireland in terms of, being injured for quite a bit of it. And then, missing out on that World Cup was really, really difficult. And trying to get back, and then getting back for Six Nations in 2018, which I should never have played because it was just a car crash. I was physically and mentally all over the place. I had only just got back running a couple of weeks, but when someone comes knocking on the door, you're not going to turn down a chance to play for your country. So, and then obviously I got dropped, and that was a real big downer. That was probably one of the worst moments of my rugby career, just in terms of I had no issue with it because I didn't play well the previous year, but I felt like I was chasing my tail, trying to get myself back fit after being out for a couple of seasons. So, and this is right, I literally just threw the shackles off. There was no pressure anymore. I didn't have to play to a certain standard in terms of trying to, make sure I did everything correctly and trained so hard and ate all the right foods and did all the S&C and everything. And yet I probably played the best rugby I had played in about 5 years. And that for me, if I don't get back playing, that is perfectly fine, because I went out knowing that I could get back to where I needed to get to.
Wow. Yeah, I remember those years when we were
both injured.
Both injured in UL. I don't know what was wrong with me.
We were both in boots for a long time.
Yeah, Jesus. And it was, it's funny just seeing someone else going through the same thing that you were going through. It's so hard. Fuck. And I remember just asking you, and then I just stopped asking. I think that's...
We'd meet each other in the gym. It was like...
Just don't say anything. Don't say anything. How are the guards?
How's your dad? That's
yes.
all I would ever say. Yeah.
That's so true. I'm trying to set you up, my dad. If my mother ever leaves him, right? You're the first person I'd call. Go on, talk to us about Munster versus Leinster. I've dragged the lads down to and let's look at Trimbys' face. Give me your synopsis on it.
Yeah, I thought, to be fair, Leinster were brilliant in every facet. I thought Munster were incredibly disappointing. They didn't really put a dent in it or take a shot. They from the first kickoff, to be fair, missed the jump, and Conor Murray gets pushed out over the line, and then you're defending on your 22, and they basically defended there for 10 or 12 minutes, did really well times, like Earlsy's. Did you see that, one of the Rory Loughlin passes, like Earlsy's like, come on, baiting him into throw it, knowing well that he's just like backtracking, and he's like, if you throw it, I'm going to get Jordan Lambert. And O'Loughlin knows. He's like, oh shit, what'll I do? And he just puts that over the sideline. So they had some good moments like that in terms of their defensive moments, but after that, it was just really disappointing from a Munster point of view.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It is hard to look at, beyond the moments. I think that's what we did last week when we looked at how good Ireland was. It was like they won the big moment and then that kind of snowballed. And so that is important to keep that in mind. It's hard to kind of claw back when that momentum goes, isn't it?
Yeah, huge. I think the emotional thing too was big for me. I thought the Leinster boys looked very energetic. They looked like, they were coming off a high, having beaten England last weekend. And I thought, look, Munster just looked a little bit heavy and didn't have much bounce in their step, I thought. And when it's obviously a really physical game, and if you got to win that collision, but also you've got to be right there emotionally too to be able to make the collisions. If that makes any sense. And I thought, it was just almost like Munster just either not that they didn't believe. I would hate to say that against any team, but I just think that they just didn't get to the right emotional pitch to be able to fire a shot. I think that was probably the most disappointing thing, I think.
Yeah, well, we won the, when you talk about that, about the momentum swings or the moments, like we looked at the England match last week and we said Ireland won all the big moments and they got all the momentum from it. And it's hard then when you're like at the weekend when they defended for the first 12 minutes, it's hard then for them to claw that back. And that's kind of what it seemed to be for Munster. They couldn't get back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I thought to go in 6-all, after Leinster having so many big moments, probably butchered 2 or 3 tries, had one held up over the line in the first half alone. You're thinking going in at half time, how in God's name are we drawing this game? And in my mind, I'm like, they're definitely going to come out now because Leinster will be under pressure because they've had so many chances, so much pressure, so much territory, and haven't been able to convert it. I was like, yeah, we're on it. And then within 8 minutes, Leinster had scored a try. So, and really, once they got that try, you never really saw Munster coming back, to be honest. And I think that's a tough thing. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here in terms of how they pick themselves back up. Big game next weekend. But I think they'll obviously be incredibly disappointed coming into that review on Monday morning.
It's hard. We talked about it last week with energy, and Johnny Wilkinson was on ITV. I don't know if you saw that, and he was talking about how important it is to create energy at certain times. And you definitely, been at the match yesterday, could see the body language of the Munster players in that at the start of that second half. They looked like they were beaten already, which is that's a tough place to be, isn't it? Have you found yourself in that position, or even as a coach, how do you get a team out of that headspace?
Look, I've been incredibly fortunate to play with and Bows in terms of, we won games more often than we lost them, I think. But I've definitely been in that position in moments with Ireland before. The World Cup in 2014 semi-final against England was definitely one of them for me. I felt just couldn't. You could see the game happening in front of you, but you couldn't change it. And I'd imagine it was kind of similar for Munster yesterday. I thought they definitely lacked energy. And it's funny, I thought when you come back from such a big win, like finishing the Six Nations campaign against England, and to come back in, I'd imagine they'd have all been jumping back into training this week and, saying to Van Gran, I'm ready to play, because you just want to keep that momentum and that confidence going. But look, I think Leinster have the upper hand on Munster at the moment mentally in terms of the number of wins they've had on the bounce. Now I think it's 6, and once that seed of doubt is planted, it's very difficult to stop it, I think. Yeah,
that's it. And I think they could rewrite a lot of wrongs in the next few weeks if they can get a couple of wins. And we'll see. We'll put Trimby out of his misery now, because I know this is absolute hell to him. So we'll move on. Ireland versus Wales.
Talking about rugby or talking about Munster?
Just general. Ireland versus Wales, 2 weeks' time. Is it 2 weeks' time? Yes. What day are we today? What are your thoughts? First of all, on I suppose Six Nations now standing on its own 2 feet in April. Do you think that's the way forward? And then how do you think they're set for this? Have you been talking to many of the girls in the camp?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming down, the road in terms of I think it's something had to change for the visibility of the sport to grow it. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to give it its own little window to see how it happens. I'm disappointed with the structure of it, the two groups of 3. And I understood it at the time because of the World Cup and the qualifiers and everything that had to be played before it. But since they were all postponed, I really thought that Six Nations would go back to its original structure and its original state, and they haven't. So I think I'm a little bit disappointed by that. But in terms of an Irish perspective, look, I've been on to a good few of them. They're incredibly excited finally to get games and things in the calendar. They've literally been training for nearly a year.
Yeah, it's a year.
So it's been tough, and they've had a lot of camps together. And you both know in terms of you can do all the training camps and you can do all the sessions, but nothing really replicates that kind of match intensity. And I think they've got to be patient with themselves, especially in that first 40 minutes against Wales, because there's definitely going to be some rusty and some miscommunications, I'd imagine, in terms of the lines of running and what they're trying to do, because it's been so long since they've been up against that kind of pressured defence and pressured opposition. So, look, I'm hopeful. I think there's some new girls in there, some sevens girls, obviously, because they're not away with sevens and at the moment due to COVID. So they're in. I'm excited to see how they get on. And you're just hoping for them to put on some good performances and keep improving. I thought that before COVID had happened last year, I thought that they started to look like they were, improving in terms of their skill development. Their defence was really, really good under Kieran Hallett. I thought they were excellent. So, I think it's great. I'm proper excited in terms of seeing what's the trajectory of the squad now. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I can't believe what was it, September we had Anna Caplice on. And she was like, we are so desperate for a game. We haven't played in so long. That's 8 months ago or whatever. So I'm delighted. I think it's brilliant that it's going to get. I know that you're right. It's disappointing it's not a full Six Nations, but it's great that it will get its time alone without the men's games beside them, and very exciting to see all those young girls coming in as well. But look, I think we'll have to finish up on trying to make you embarrassed again. You are our first hero of the AIL. Congratulations. We'll give you a cape, a crown, and more importantly, a Potholes and Penguins mug and jumper.
Yes.
Yes. I can drop them into you on the way home. Have you got a cape and a crown, Jeremy?
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course. That should be our new merchandise. Fucking capes and crowns as well.
Underpants.
Yeah. Briggsy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mel.
Party on, and look, best of luck. Hopefully you get back playing whenever. I don't know, when will you get back playing?
It won't be for September, I'd say.
Fuck.
Yeah, if even. We'll be good. We'll once we can get back on the pitch, I think that'll be a huge step forward.
Keep tackling each other's mothers. You'll be grand in the meantime. All right, good luck.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
Niamh. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Bye.
All right, let's finish this up. Long episode. Loads of rugby coming this week. We've a weekly pothole with Geordie Murphy coming midweek, and we'll also probably do a little bit of preview of the Champions Cup and what's the other thing that Ulster and Connacht are in? Sorry for burping. Challenge Cup.
The Amlin.
The Amlin. We'll do a bit on that as well. All right, a name for today's show.
Oh yeah.
What do we talk about?
There was a lot of sorrow. Lots of sad things. Niamh Briggs is a guard. Niamh Briggs.
The guard.
Mall cop. The guard.
The penguin. Once upon a time, and I feel like we've done that already, have we?
Once upon a time in Penguin.
Yeah, I feel like we've done that already.
Don't think so.
Once Upon
We
a
did it.
Penguin in Hollywood. That's the Draco. The upside down smile. Knowledge is knowing.
Brazil. Let's just say the girls are slick. Once Upon a Time. What's the film called? The original. Once Upon a Time in
Hollywood.
In Hollywood. It's time. Once Upon a Mexico. We'll have a think about it.
Once Upon a Penguin in Hollywood.
Grant.
Yeah, nailed it.
I love it. I actually love it. Okay, have a fabulous remainder of the week, ladies
Beginning.
and gentlemen.
Get up out of it.
Beginning. We don't know what type of the day of the week it is. Yes.
I don't know, my arse from my elbow.
Yeah.
Get all your spoofer stories into us for this week.
Yeah.
And tune in to Jordan Murphy in the Weekly Pothole.
Sound. Party on.
Party on.
Spoof away, party on.